FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is April 20th, 2017, and, well, looks like the Trump agenda is tied up in Congress. Will it go there to die like so many other things, or will Trump prevail? Well, Bill Tatro is with us now, fellow radio guy, author, and economic analyst, and so many other things that you do. Bill, welcome back.
Well, Kerry, it's always a pleasure to be here. And as we were just kind of saying before we went on the air, really nothing to talk about. It's such a boring world that there's nothing going on.
Yeah,
it's
not
going
much.
on every single minute.
Yeah. Boy, is that the truth, huh? So
Absolutely.
But Congress, enemy of the people, what are they going to do? They're going to have to pass something? I mean, they're going to get voted out if they don't start getting serious, aren't they?
Well, it's interesting because when you saw Donald Trump come in, you knew that he had that the other side of the aisle was 100%. They were emboldened. They were together as the Democrats. Mm-hmm. So you knew that was going to be, not the fly in the ointment, but they were there. All right, the Pelosi, the Schumer, the whole wing of both houses, and the Senate and the House. But what you didn't kind of figure on was that there was going to be a group of congressmen who were all of a sudden coming together and saying, all right, now look, if you want to do this, you want to put $1 trillion into infrastructure, tell me how you're going to do it. Oh, okay. And if you're going to do it, because I know it's going to be great, and I know this, I know that, but how are you going to do it? And one of the problems, which I saw, right off the bat, and I said, oh, wait a minute, man, here we go again, was remember when Nancy Pelosi said with the health care bill, you'll know it when you pass it. You'll know what's in it when you pass it. And I saw a lot of the same thing because here we have Paul Ryan saying, "All right, here's our old our Trump care, or the Ryan care, I guess is what it's called, and here it is. And guys, I want you to pass it." So there didn't seem to be the learning from the last group that were in there to say, "Look, let's sit down, let's carve some of this stuff out with." The support of our own team. And then all of a sudden, you saw the really fiscally conservative group, the group that said, oh, no, wait a minute, no, let's stop. And so that's, I think, right off the bat, a mistake that was made. And now it's just compounded from there because it's, all of a sudden we're watching President Trump, who came in and said, well, let's do this and let's do that, and in his speeches on the stump, and then all of a sudden he's kind of flip-flopping. And not kind of, but I mean, every day there seems to be something that's flipping on the other side. So I just think it's going to be very difficult to pass some of these things that are major in what his proposal was and what he was elected on.
Yeah, so are they going to wind up repealing Obamacare, or are we stuck with it?
Well, the most recent I read this morning, and of course, you only see what you see in the headlines, the fact that the Republicans have maybe come together, maybe coalesced behind something, but for the time being, it would appear that we are stuck with it. But the fact that his tax program, he says that, all right, I'm going to save, I don't know how many millions of dollars in Obamacare, which then will allow me to do the tax program that is going to cut income coming into the government. A lot of this stuff is just hinged on each other. It's like the domino. You got to get one, because if you don't get the one, you don't get the other. That's what he's facing. And I think I think, and I said this in the campaign, and I was a Trump supporter. I've said this on the program. I said, look at our choices, and there we are. And I'm not going to go the other side. I'm going to go with Donald Trump. But when he continued to talk about how he was going to renegotiate treaties and renegotiate this and renegotiate that because of his success as a businessman, which I don't argue with, but negotiating on a global scale is a little bit different than sitting across the table from maybe a union representative. And I think he's starting to discover that it's the wielding of government can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, well, it's a learning process, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. What is fascinating for me is that when you, and this is, remember, he has a group of advisors that are surrounding him. It's ever changing. Bannon seems to be maybe a little bit on the outs here, and he represented one particular philosophy, and his son-in-law seems to be much more in maybe the driver's seat of influence in him. But what always is fascinating to me, whether it's Donald Trump or anybody else, and that is, let's take a guy like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer used to say, we need to call the Chinese money manipulators. And then we designate themselves, and then they will, because they don't let their currency fluctuate. So we have to do that. Yet at the same time, they will say, they said, we want you to buy our bonds. We want you to be our banker. I never thought that you went to your banker and insulted your banker and kind of played hardball with your banker. Now we fast forward to now, and here we are sitting down as he sat down with Mar-a-Lago down in what we call a White House South, and hoping and kind of pushing that China has influence with North Korea. And yet today we hear he's going to sign a bill which is going to dramatically impact, and maybe even shut down the imports of Chinese steel. So here, and that's dramatic. So here on the one hand, he's saying, look, I want you to be our friends, and we want to do this, and we want to do that. And then on the other hand, he's going, okay, but guess what? We're going to put the kibosh on you as far as your steel is concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a learning curve. It's a learning process, and there's been a lot of activity in this first 100 days.
Yeah. Well, some things have happened, right? What do you think has been his best accomplishment in the first 100 days?
Oh, geez. His best accomplishment. If I was a businessman and I was a small businessman, I would say, and this hasn't gotten a lot of press, but kind of the repealing of many of the regulations, the thousands of regulations, the stopping of hiring government employees, maybe in the area of those two particular things. I think that he's thrown the curveball, when it looks like he talked about getting out of the Middle East and the relationship, especially that week before the bombing in Syria. A lot of curveballs, and so I'm not trying to dodge the question, but there's nothing to me. I heard some of the commentators say, "Well, look at all the jobs he's created." So don't get me started on that one, because I've been looking at the jobs, and we continue to create. We're continue to be the bartender, waitress, and waiter capital of the world. And so if you're going to be in the administration and take credit for all of the bartender jobs that have been created, I'm not sure that's something that you want to take. I just think that, again, give the guy some time, but I'm troubled by the flip-flopping that's going on. I'm troubled by the change in who maybe got his ear, and that's what concerns me. But I would say, again, answering your question, the idea of improving. I know we've putting pressure on the sanctuary cities that some of them we're taking more action as far as the immigration is concerned. So all those things are steps in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah. So overall, first 100 days, what grade would you give him?
On the flip-flop, I've got to give the guy, and a lot of flip-flopping that's going on. I mean, that area. But I'd give him maybe a C+. I was hoping for more, but I would say that he's come in and maybe recognizing that being a being a presidential candidate is a whole lot different than being president of the United States.
A bit of a wake-up call, huh?
Yeah, it is. And, I'm a great a lover of history. I can't call myself a historian because that's not my degree or my academic study. I was an economist. But I love history. And when you look at history, you see that irrespective of whether it was George Washington at the first back in the 1780s or whether it was Abraham Lincoln or Roosevelt, and I'm kind of mentioning some big names out there, but even some of the, the lessers like a U.S. Grant or Warren Benji Harding or Calvin Coolidge or something like that. They get into office, and all of a sudden the magnitude of what it's all about. You can have a particular philosophy and you can espouse something, but yet then when you get face to face with reality, you are dealing with, he's dealing, and they all were dealing with people who are either of comparable ability because they're leaders of their countries, or maybe even and with their experience and having been or are being our leaders and have had that experience for several years, understand the world stage a little bit better. And that's, he has to be the world's diplomat. He has to be not only he has to be a strong leader, but he has to be many, many things. And the question becomes, at 70 years old, can he adapt and change and understand the role that the President of the United States has? That's what we'll see. And it's just beginning. It's the first 100 days, but this guy's in for at least 4 years. So it will be something that will not leave us short of things to talk about. I'm absolutely convinced.
Well, he seems to have calmed down the tweeting lately, and I think he's settling in. So what about North Korea and all that? What's your opinion there?
Well, North Korea, I don't understand the idea of North Korea. It's like, if I may, let me take a step back from the idea of this North Korean situation, and I go back to the bombing in Syria a few weeks ago. The question became, in Syria, the gas attack, and I've written about that. There's been a lot of different positions taken, but I thoroughly believe that was a false flag. Mm-hmm. And the idea that Assad would, when he had everything going his way, as a matter of fact, the week before, he had the United States taking the position that it was up to, and even the United Nations saying it's up to the Syrian people to determine the future of Assad. Okay, major flip for the United States, major position change after 8 years of Obama, and then he's winning the civil war, which is what people forget too. It's a civil war.
Yes.
The fact that all these things were going his way, and then he's going to do a sarin gas attack on a couple hundred people in an out-of-the-way village makes absolutely no sense.
No sense at all.
Okay. None at all. And I saw a study yesterday that came out by an MIT professor who was actually a Democrat, who put out that it's impossible that it was those people. He also, in that particular area, he's I don't want to say a chemist, but he's a PhD in chemistry, et cetera, talking about the ability or the sarin gas movement through the air, et cetera. All I wrote about it, and I said the first responders, if it was sarin gas, these guys were wearing sandals, had no gloves, had nothing on their head. I wrote this, and I'll tell you something. This is fascinating. I wrote this piece that basically went through the first responders, and they were not. It wasn't sarin gas, because if that had been, all these first responders who were there in 45 minutes to an hour would all have been dead also. So, and this was a piece that did not get played on Town Hall. Isn't that interesting? They did not want to put that piece out on Town Hall.
Really?
First time in 8 to 9 years that I've had a piece rejected. Wow. And so that's another kind of a topic, interesting topic. But irrespective, the fact is that whole thing on Assad, all right, so it's a false flag, but Donald Trump jumped to that. Oh, I'm looking at the pictures of these children, and the MIT professor said, what's interesting is look carefully at the pictures of the children. It's a repetitive photo that's been, again, from different angles, again and again and again, of the same children. Now, take to North Korea. This guy, who is John McCain, I guess, gave him a call, or the fat kid.
Yeah.
He's wedged between South Korea, which is a surrogate of the United States, and China just above him. You got the two of the three world superpowers that could eliminate him in a second. It is interesting to me would that, and unless he's totally so irrational, but I don't think the kid wants to die, and I don't think he wants his country to die. I mean, he's played a lot of games because he's tried to get sanctions lifted. He's tried to a way to threaten to get an economic improvement in his country. But the bottom line is, I don't think that it is a situation which is and I don't mean to minimize it, but it's as serious as we see. That fleet, and I just learned this last night, when we were saying that the armada that was charging toward the Korean Peninsula actually was going to war games in Australia. I mean, get your story to the press correct. So I'm just wondering what else. Donald Trump is The Art of the Deal. Mm-hmm. That's his book, and The Art of the Comeback. I'm wondering that we've now shifted our focus from the Middle East. We've shifted our focus from the big Moab bomb that was dropped in Afghanistan, shifted our focus from Assad and that, and basically Russia. Now it's over to this peninsula. I'd like to know what's underneath. What promises were made to Japan with Mike Pence going over there? And maybe the most recent thing is Donald Trump's most recent flip-flop, and this came from Paul Ryan yesterday when he said, the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, that's really good. That's good for world order. The only one it's good for is Japan. Right. Is it possible that below the deal was negotiated to get us back into the Trans-Pacific Partnership some way? If there was some jingling or blustering that was going on as far as North Korea is concerned, it's just, to me, Gary, it's just this fascination of high-stakes politics, and it's kind of like the magician that you're watching his right hand. Oh, yeah, I'm watching that, but he's doing everything with his left hand.
The art of illusion.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I know what you're saying. It's definitely a little confusing, and hey, all I could say is the alternative probably was worse, but we'll luckily never find out. Anyway, Bill, we want to find out more about you, get your newsletter. How do you do that?
You go to Bill Tatro, and that's spelled T as in Tom, A-T as in Tom, R-O, BillTatro.com, and you go there. The listeners can do a 7-day free trial. Listen, it's a lot of stuff. It's not only just audio and video and the written word and everything. As a matter of fact, we've gone through in the next 2 weeks, a major update of our website and the program at large, and a lot of good stuff delivery. But they can test it. They can test drive it by going to BillTatro.com and get that free 7-day look, and we hope that they will enjoy it.
All right. And hey, if you have any questions for Bill or myself, and any questions about the site or the show, send an email to kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed's @KerryLutz, and the Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Bill, it's been a total pleasure. We'll talk with you again soon.
As always, Kerry, have a great day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.